Here's to the crazy ones, the mutants, the luck burners, the murder hobos, the weird dice in Crown Royal bags, the ones who play games differently. They're not fond of crunchy mechanics, and they have no respect for the rules as written. You can smite them, attack them, fortify or mollify them. About the only thing you can't do is escape them, because they kill things. Then they take their stuff. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see gamers. Because the players who are crazy enough to think they can win the boss fight are the ones that do. Whoa, what'd you think of that? Yeah, Jim called me the other day and said, "Hey, I need your voice." I said, "Can I have it back when you're done?" And he said, "Yes." And that's what, it's all his put together. I just read the words that he wrote. Pretty cool, huh? I thought so. That was fun. I was glad to be a part of it. Mud Puppy Games, Mr. James Wampler. Okay. First comment. There aren't very many comments this week, so I may have to ramble on for a while. Which is some people seem to enjoy anyway. There are plenty of game stores in cities in BC, British Columbia. Hope you enjoy your cruise. Okay, well, here's my itinerary. Okay, now this is next May. Ketchikan on the 10th. And I saw they just had some terrible landslides, and my heart goes out to them. Let's see. Juneau on the 11th. Skagway on the 12th. Sitka on the 13th. And Seward on the 15th. So, gamers, game stores in any of those cities, we haven't confirmed what we're doing in each of those stops. So let me know. It's interesting that there's a definite divide between people who will trade money for vapor and others who still want a physical object in return for their hard-earned. I'm still a CD, DVD, hard copy book guy. The idea of trading cash for a new pair of pixel pants to put on my imaginary video character is beyond me. And I must confess that I share your bafflement. And I'm not in any way condemning it. I'm simply saying I simply do not understand it. It's like the same people who pay money to gamble on websites for coins they can't buy anything with. I don't understand. There's a whole lot of making money doing it. I just don't understand that one either. But if that's your bag, fine. Though I suspect there probably aren't a lot of people who watch this regularly who are accustomed to that bag. But if that's cool. But you're right. I don't really understand it either. That's why I've never gotten into any of the pay-per-play games. I pay money to play games that I supposedly own, that I have supposedly a license for on Steam. I'm not exactly sure how the ins and outs of that Machiavellian arrangement work exactly, but I do. It does. I think I need to go to Wizard Tower Con. I wanted to go to the next Gary Con, but the tickets sold out in like 90 seconds. Well, I mean, it was a little longer than that, but you're right. A lot of stuff did sell out right away. That's what happens when there's limited seats, limited opportunities, so many games, so many game slots, they're gone. Now, with Wizard Tower Con, we have a beautiful venue for a small beginning con. By small, I mean 350 would be tops great. So maybe if there's that much interest in that part of the country in that month, it'll sell out quickly too. I don't know. But what we don't want to do is sell too many tickets so everybody ends up crammed into a place that nobody has fun. Too many people don't get to do anything that they wanted to do. That'd be the last thing I'd want to be involved with. Now, if we have good numbers this next year in 25, well then maybe we'll look at a bigger venue in 26. Don't know. Let's hope. Let's see how 25 goes. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of good people there. You can go look on their website and see the various authors and artists that have committed to being there. Okay. Question. Is the cleric the mother of all class bloat, or is this just a somewhat controversy-courting conversational gambit? Nowadays, a paladin, or currently just about, if not actually all classes in the latest edition D&D, can cast spells and wield any type of weapon, and represents for me a deformed version of the old-school cleric, twisted from being an essential team member into a stand-alone protagonist. Paladins have no ostensible need to work with anyone. Is the cleric essentially a fighter with spells or magical prayers? All right. I have a soft spot for clerics. When I first played the game, in talking to Gary and some of the other people, clerics were kind of like a friar. The original cleric concept was kind of a friar tuck. Or for the few people that, and I only say few because there were a whole hell of a lot of us playing, that knew about some of the Bishop Odo and some of those people from the Middle Ages and their rigorous prosecution of Christianity and their religious persecution of anybody who didn't agree. The cleric was kind of a, stout fellow but he also could help you. He also could perhaps be a workaround by speaking to an animal instead of having to fight with it, or various things. All right? And 2 or 3 of my very first characters were clerics. I liked clerics. Gary and I spoke about the fact that the cleric is really like a combat medic. He just can't carry a sword because he's not supposed to shed blood. But if he's good with a quarterstaff, he can whack the hell out of somebody. Or if he's got a flanged mace or something of that nature that doesn't show blood. Okay, the whole concept of the cleric came out of these medieval Crusader area powerful clerics, all of the Roman Catholic Church, obviously pre-Reformation, and a lot of the mythology of the Middle Ages is heavily tainted by Roman Catholicism. And therefore, the standards were basically what the church, the only church, or you know your history, you know what I'm saying. No, don't do that. Priests can't shed blood. Well, yeah, except Bishop Odo could bash a guy over the head with an 8-pound fluted morning star and cave his skull in and pretend not to see the blood dripping down his eyes. But anyway, but he had some cool spells, and that was good. And one of those spells, of course, was healing. So he had an appeal, and in the early days, the clerics had a great deal of appeal because they were the medics in the group. And in many groups, they were much more highly valued than a low-level magic user. Now, having having said all that, it's getting late. Now I think my phone just winked at me. My clerics have evolved in how I play clerics. My treatment of curing of potions has expanded greatly from the original rules. In any of the pre-gen setups that I do and running at cons, I always make sure they have some cures, both light and heavy. And I look at healing potions more as Red Bulls, energy drinks. Because again, in my world, the concept of hit points is the ability to dodge a fatal blow. And therefore, drink a Red Bull, just like I drink an energy drink when I sit down to do this on Thursday night, just so I don't fall asleep here at the. Sorry, I had to move around a little. Just so I don't fall asleep here at the computer. So I like clerics in my world. The play of clerics has evolved into a very useful member of the party, capable of defending himself at the very least, and certainly in a position to contribute greatly to the successful outcome of whatever the party is doing. And my favorite cleric is a quarterstaff wielder that also carries a cudgel or a long sap of some sort, and therefore I don't break any of the original core rules. But you can, I would say that a good pellet-filled pellets of whatever rocks or iron pyrites, anything heavy sewn into the end on a little stick. Boom, it's very effective. You can break an arm, break a wrist, crush a skull. I like clerics. Are they overpowered? Not the way I play them. In my opinion, do some people play them overpowered? Certainly yes. One of the chief issues that I have with the later editions is the blending, the merging of the classes and their abilities and skills. There's very little any class can do nowadays that I can see that makes them, that's unique to them. And I think that's a shame, because for many reasons, it limits the interaction within a party, limits the skills, limits the intuitions that a given class might contribute to. All right, let's see. Let's go on. Question 2. In your opinion, did in-game player greed for power and cross-pollination of character classes into a homogeneous goop of power player avatars have its seed in the cleric as the initial have your cake and eat it too distortion of the fighter wizard dichotomy? No, I don't think so, because you could use a club or a staff. You could use a weapon that's going to deliver less damage and have a worse chance of hitting. All right, unless you're a trained staff fighter like the legendary Little John in Sherwood. It's your weapon choices are not going to be as your weapons are not going to be able to deliver the devastating types of hits that others can. So you're not looking to get any edge. I would not see looking to get any edge there. The fact that you can, in my world, pray, in rules as written, say, cast spells, which I'm kind of hinky with, because most neutral or good religious archetypes don't get into spells. More about ritual and prayer. More, not completely. So I don't think it is. I make my world clerics are certainly more useful, but I would not say that they're more powerful as such. Now, depending upon how the group plays, if they are one for all for one, and they share everything, well, then his uses are going to be a large contributory factor to the group's success. Now, in my world, they don't have a unlimited capabilities. I like to use the old fallback mana that any given cleric possesses a certain amount based on how skillful they are of mana every given day. And, assuming they're wearing their amulet and they do a novena and, how they get it, I don't care. They do. And they can only, it's not really a spell point system. I do keep the 1/1, 2/2 type spell slots simply as an indicator of the potency of the prayers they're able to say in a given day is based on their mana reserves. It's kind of like feeding the meter. Yeah, it is kind of. I hadn't thought of it that way, but yeah, I guess it is. And they are able to trade down, but never trade up. So they've still got enough juice that they could have said a third, but they really wish they could have said that they could say that second over again. They can. There's just no change. No, then they don't get a free first. Nope. And the other upside of mine is that when a cleric levels up, he's considered to know all those new prayers because that was part of the leveling up studies. Easy peasy. That's how clerics work in my world. Please note, no offense is intended by this topic or its presentation. This individual leaves me interesting stuff every now and again. Well, you should definitely review Shadow Dark. If you need, I will send you a copy. Old school plus aspects of other games. In response, I agree. Currently refereeing Shadow Dark and having more fun than I've had in years running a game. I'd also love for Mr. Cass to give it a read through. I even messaged Kelsey about sending a copy, but I'm sure it was buried in hundreds of messages after the Ennies. And the last is that my kindly producer has already sent me a PDF copy of Shadow Dark whilst awaiting his own print copy at arrival at our FLGS, which is Friendly Local Game Store. Yes, Jim's given me access to a PDF to read. The trouble is, I simply have not had the time right now. And in making time, I'm much more interested in redoing a previously a written, needs buffing and polishing, enormous sandbox adventure with old school games, and as part of World of Game Design. A huge one will kickstart, and 2 more projects with Wizard Tower games that are essentially written. They just need to be improved. A heavy edit. I'm better now than when I wrote them 10, 12 years ago. So, yeah, when I get some time, I will. It's just allocating my time seems to be more and more problematic. But I'm working on it. And one of these afternoons it'll be crappy out, and I'll sit down and I'll spend several hours reading. I hope. And Patreon people, I have not forgotten my pledge. We got some new furniture upstairs in one of the rooms, which is necessitating moving some of the old furniture downstairs. And I believe it's now where it's going to go. So now I can do what I promised and give a tour. I'll probably do that over the Labor Day weekend, and hopefully have it up the middle of the following week, and a link sent. Let's see oh Jesus, it's been a week. I'll bitch a little here. Dealing with the government, in this case, the passport people. There's an online thing you can do, which I'm still not convinced is a scam or not. And I took my own picture, 15 inches, yada, yada, yada. Couldn't find my head. I went to Walgreens. They did it. They do it. That's what they do. Do. My head's too close to the camera. It just wouldn't do anything. So I have gone back to manual, and I'm filling out the paperwork and all that. Then, with the VA, I'm trying to make some changes, and I'm trying to authenticate that I am who I am. And they have part of their thing is take pictures of your driver's license, both sides. Well, nothing I do is a picture good enough. So I'm beating my head, and I'm going to call them up in person and work it out. Yeah. Interesting. And, of course, this is all in the middle of a monstrous heat wave, which, the heat wave thing, that's all relative. Now, my brother, who lives in Phoenix, doesn't get really upset until it goes up around 100, 103 or higher. And then it's a heat wave, because he's used to the stuff under it. I'm not saying he likes it. Here, we had 97. That's unbelievably hot for this part of the country. Again, what's relative? We also get the humidity because we're in the Ohio River Valley. Nice, humid, sticky. I understand there's people up in Minnesota, temperatures they've never seen before. People out west, it's weather is just hell. And I'm afraid it's only going to get worse because nobody's done shit yet to try to do anything to alleviate or ameliorate it. But I won't get political. In the meantime, have fun, play some good games, be nice to each other, which doesn't mean you can't call each other friendly names or unfriendly names in a friendly fashion. Because some nights that's what it's good about sitting around the table, especially on board game nights, is insulting each other. Because that's what camaraderie means. And you find a lot of that around the game table. So, enjoy, and Dodata Govi. Hello, and welcome to my Cellar.
The curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs. Still quite a feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar.
Last man around when them rates went down. Calling Gary in that Lake Geneva town. Hey Gary, it's an awful mess. Let me edit, we'll have success. D&D and Dragon Magazine.
He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs, but he's still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar.
Magic missile, it's a mortar shell. Make it hit in the first level spell. Brought psionics to the game to attack that wizard's brain. DSR and fantasy, collection of micro armory. Titan with tramp under a tree,
High as could be. He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs, but he's still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar. Still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar.